Welcome to Talking Carts, the Consumer Reports podcast that helps you shop smarter, save more, and feel good about every purchase. I'm Tanya Christian.
And I'm Brian Vines.
And this is Talking Carts. Have you noticed how prices lately just feel off? Like you'll see something on sale and then a few days later, it's either cheaper or somehow more expensive. And you're left wondering if you just got it at the wrong time.
Yeah, or you feel like you have to make the decision right now before the price goes up again.
Exactly. And there's a reason it feels that way. Prices are moving more than usual right now. Tariffs, inventory shifts, all of it. And it's getting harder to tell what's actually a good deal.
So instead of guessing, Consumer Reports has been tracking the prices of a small group of products over time to see what's really going on. It's not about keeping tabs on a single item, but more about understanding the patterns behind pricing. This is really what we mean when we say shop smarter and save more. It's not just finding deals, it's understanding when to buy them.
And we're talking about this now because prices are just high and they're changing. And if you don't understand how they're moving, it's really easy to overpay without realizing it.
1000%. Like we just were on with Star and she got us right in our coupon mindset. So we've got things covered of like when the coupons are right and aligned with your budget. But we're about to unlock a whole other level of when and how.
Right, exactly. Because, at the grocery store, the couponing, that's very easy.
Right.
But then like on other products, let's say a vacuum cleaner or, electronics, there's not always that coupon angle, right? So you really just got to make sure you're paying attention to the pricing and you're getting it at the right time.
But even then, when you talk about something like diapers, which are part of the things that we're tracking, it's like, okay, you're going to need the diapers. How many should you buy and when should you and where should you? This is like involving the whole CR universe because we've just talked about the grocery stores where you pay the most and least at. And then we've got the coupon thing and then we're tracking these things. So it really is all for the benefit of each one of you listening right now.
Now, is there anything that you got recently that you either paid a lot less for, it was like a deal, or you bought it, thought it was a deal, and then a couple days later you realize, okay, that actually wasn't as good as I thought?
That is the bane of my existence, to buy something and then you see at a place that does not price match or price adjust for things. That drives me wild. But one thing is, it's not in the vein of something that we're necessarily tracking, but I just had a vacation. I took a little birthday trip down to Mexico. So I was like looking at everything all the time and like from hotels to excursions to all of the things, like comparing. I had a whole like lightweight spreadsheet. It's something that takes up a lot of my thought space, which is why I'm glad that CR has put it into one place.
Yeah, no, it's definitely come to that. So today we're talking to Chris Raymond, who's been tracking prices over time for Consumer Reports. And he's going to be telling us about what he's been seeing and how you can use those insights to shop smarter and not overpay. Because at the end of the day, this really comes down to timing and understanding. Let's see what he has to say.
Chris, welcome to Talking Carts. We're so excited to have you here.
Thanks, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Happy to meet the man behind the price tracking. So just from the outset, what exactly are we tracking? How did we pick those items and how long have you been watching them?
It's 16 items. We actually started this in 2025 on the day when President Trump announced the tariffs. And that just happened to be the day when Nintendo introduced the Nintendo Switch gaming console. And normally on the day when they introduced that, they actually opened it up for pre-orders. And they canceled the pre-orders that day because they had no idea what the item was going to cost in 3 months or 4 months when it came out. And so that kind of set off a little light bulb. In my head, I was thinking, we're looking at some dramatic shifts here. So it would be good to track a handful of items. And when we started looking at it, I thought it was going to be a handful, and it ended up at 16 items. Everything from a tub of Folgers coffee all the way up to the Ford F-150 pickup truck. We decided to kind of bring it back again for 2026, and we're starting with a couple of holdovers, but it's going to be mostly 16 new items there. So we still have the Folgers coffee because that's how people start their day. And I think this year's goes up to a Casper mattress, a $2,000 Casper mattress. And in between, we try and put some other items that we test. So we're looking at some things that like must-have items, like a smoke, fire alarm, and CO detector, a blood pressure monitor, some baby items in there. So diapers, a car seat, and a stroller set. So some things that you have to buy, some things that would be fun to buy. And now other necessities like apparel, things like that.
Kristen, looking at this, you had items last year, you have new items this year. What is the one thing that has surprised you? Like, what's that price trend that was a standout when you were doing this work?
The one that surprised me the most was a Shark vacuum cleaner. It's a very popular model. I think it's the NV360. What surprised me was just how volatile the price was on that. I don't know that we went 3 weeks with the same price.
Oh my gosh.
One after the other, yeah. So and it ranged dramatically. I mean, it was literally from like one weeks it was like $119, and at its peak it was close to $200. So it would swing by $40 or $50 a week. And it was hard to kind of predict exactly when that would happen. So we looked into that a little bit, and I think it was, it's a popular model. It's an older model. And a lot of people wanted that model. And so I do think there were retailers that were using that as a way to kind of draw people to their website or into their stores. So it was always on sale during like Amazon Prime Week or during, Black Friday. But we found that there were other times where weren't tied to kind of specific sale seasons that it would be on sale as well.
Now, on the flip side of that, was there anything that was really stable? We're tracking it the past year, and it's like it really hasn't risen or gone down in that time.
The electronic items tended to hold pretty steady there. So the iPhone that we tracked at that point, there was a pair of headphones that kind of held steady until the new model was introduced, and then they dipped down. So I think that those companies are pretty good at, I think they had their inventory here in the US and ready to go, and they had already sourced all the parts in there, so they actually were pretty good about holding those prices steady right up until the end. And it surprised me the Ford F-150 pickup truck was one thing that we thought might shift a lot because there was a lot of talk about tariffs impacting cars.
Right.
And that really literally held steady right until the bitter end, and it wasn't until the new model came out that ended up dipping in price.
So on the scale from vacuum volatility to the sort of rocking steady with the electrics and that F-150, are there moments that we're living in right now where things are just less predictable than they used to be? Would you say that we're in a moment where pricing is just less predictable?
I do. I think, if you end up grocery shopping, I'm sure you both do. I'm there all the time. You see it, right? From one trip to the next. I'm always shocked when I go in and go down the cereal aisle. I have two boys, both like cereal. And when I'm looking at like $6, $7 for a box of cereal, I'm wondering, how long can I sustain that, being able to kind of hail those price shifts there. And then you go back 2 weeks later and it's down to like, $3, $4 a box. So you find yourself like buying 5 boxes at a time when they kind of dip down in price, and we're seeing that with gasoline right now. We're seeing it with baby products. We're seeing it with a lot of apparel, right? A lot of clothing and footwear. Certainly in my lifetime, it's unprecedented, just the sheer number of products that increase in price and then how frequently that happens.
Yeah, I feel like tariffs is a buzzword. It's been a buzzword for about a year now, like you said, after the announcement. But how much of this is actually due to tariffs versus something like inventory or like product cycles? Obviously, when it comes to the cars, we know that, okay, when they're making way for the new model year, those tend to drop. But what exactly are we seeing? Tariffs versus product cycles, retailer strategy?
Right. That's a great question. I mean, I do think of those 16 items that we tracked in 2025, 5 of them were impacted by tariff pricing, right? Shifts in increases. That was far more than I expected to see. So I do think some of those measures were like had dramatic impact on this. But we're also, you go back 5 years to like the start of the COVID crisis, I think it's almost unprecedented what we've seen, right? So there were definite supply chain issues after that. You had a bunch of stimulus money that sort of went into helping the government or the economy rebounded. I think it rebounded faster than people expected, and then there was all this money, and so people raised prices, right? Because people were willing to kind of pay those higher prices. And the problem is they don't, dip down then when the economy kind of goes back to normal. So I think you're looking at that. I would also say there's just stuff like world events that kind of impact us. I mean, obviously right now, you look at the strikes in Iran and the oil supply, the gas and the oil supply, right? That's impacting gas prices. Avian flu impacted egg prices a few years back. One of the things that impacted our product selection this year was memory for computers, right? The RAM that goes into your laptop and your phone, it's in smart TVs. The AI data centers are expanding so rapidly in this country that those AI manufacturers have basically bought up all of the RAM that's available. There are only 3 suppliers worldwide for it.
Goodness.
And the demand is so high right now that is through the roof. So our laptops writer, Nicholas DeLeon, was going to buy, RAM for a project that he was working on last September. And by the time he went to actually buy it in November, it had gone up by like $50. So that's something that we're seeing right now, prices for laptops and smartphones being impacted by.
Chris, you took us back to the bad old days when we started learning so many words like supply chain and the avian flu, like all of the bad things that happened that essentially meant we were always paying more for things that we weren't used to paying as much for before. But I wonder, do you see any way where it's making consumers move faster, where we might be even overreacting, some would say, to all of these outside forces that are hitting us in the pocket all the time now?
Yeah, there's no question that we're sort of feeling the impact of that. I do think that you're thinking twice about where you spend your money now, right? I think more than certainly in my lifetime, I think people are, really thinking about, do I need that vacation this year? Do I take that vacation? Do we do one by car instead of by plane? And now you're looking at gas prices saying, do I do it, by bus or, somebody, I don't know how you kind of go and do a vacation this year, actually. It's very kind of challenging, right? I can't think of any item you don't have to kind of think twice about. Do I really need this, or where do I truly want to spend my money? That is just a fact of life right now. I do think that people are really smart. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're all consumers, right? There's a universal there. And we all kind of appreciate a good deal. And we all are willing to kind of spend our money on something that really, really makes us happy. I know the two of you, I see the two of you are very sharp dressers, right? So I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to spend extra, right, on a sport coat or something that makes me feel good, fits well. We bring those two those two items, those two things, I guess, those two poles, right? So we're trying to kind of save money on something, and we're happy when we do that, and then we're kind of willing to kind of splurge. And I think we are just doing that like more now than we have in the past. We have to think twice about like, do I want to splurge on that item, right? And where can I save in order to do that?
Yeah, I mean, and that's hard to do sometimes. I know for myself, I'm like, no, but I really want it. And then having to ask that question is like, I don't know, like it starts to feel like now you're contained, right? Like you can't do all the things that you want to do. Like you said, that vacation, maybe not this year. If I am somebody who's not necessarily using any of the 16 products that we have on our list that we're tracking, how exactly should people use the information that we're giving them, right? Like I might not have the exact Folgers coffee in my rotation because I don't drink coffee, but what is it telling us? Like what should consumers know?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think at the end of the day, I'm looking at 16 products, right? We do try and use each of those products as like a little window into what may be happening. And so when I see the infant car seat go up by $10, then we end up reaching out to a registry site to try and say, like, are you seeing this across the board? So, I'm trying to give people a little bit of background information on what's happening there. But I think what you want to do is really go back to the things we know as consumers, right? We kind of know how to find a deal, right? And we know where we're willing to kind of cut those corners. So if you have money set aside and you need a new dishwasher, right, or a washing machine, like those aren't things you can go without for weeks and weeks on end. You know what I mean? So if you have the money and it's within your range, right, and it hasn't jumped up, $50 in the last week, I think you kind of go and you buy that item now, right? If you can hold off until, Amazon Prime Day or Black Friday and some things, I wasn't sure whether we were going to see, Black Friday to the same degree last year. And there were great deals to be had there. There were great items. And then I think you want to kind of look and say like, hey, do I have to have new on this stuff, right? Are there ways that I can kind of save some money in the here and now? And so, when you look at electronics in particular, you could save hundreds of dollars by going to the older, the model that's 2 or 3 years older. Going back a generation or two is a great way to save money.
I love that tip because I am the king of the aftermarket peruse, because I'll look at what is out there, and there's so many sites right now that are competing and refurbishing things. Like refurbished is not a bad word in our house, because they come with warranties. They've already been checked out. Someone has put their hands on it. And the last 2 phones that I've bought have been refurbished. Like I am a person who believes in that aftermarket kind of deal scooping. We bought our oven during the time where 5 years ago, where it was very hard to get those appliances because of supply chain things at the height of COVID when we moved. And I bought our oven from one of these distributors because it has a dent on the side. So I'm like, sorry, there's a dent there. I got to save $400 on this thing, but no one's even going to see it. So that's right. Think outside of the box.
And refurbished, I will tell you, like my personal laptop is a refurbished laptop. I'm like you, but when I need a new item, I look and say, hey, do they have it available refurbished? And if you go to those reputable manufacturers, like it's as good as new. They take it, they clean it up, they replace parts, and you get it with a new 1-year warranty. I mean, there's no better deal in my mind than getting a refurbished item.
That is the one upside to times like these, because it really does make you resourceful. You're like, okay, well, how can I stretch my dollar further? When you move forward, you kind of think about things differently. You think about purchases differently. You think about the market differently. And so I think that is the positive with this, right?
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. These are skills that we all have, right? Because it's like the first time somebody gave you $1 and put it in your pocket, you became a consumer, right?
Yeah.
And you were either, delighted by that thing you got for $1, or you were like, wait, that didn't work out so well. I need another $1 and I need to go find something else, right? And so those are muscles that we've been developing through our lifetimes. You learn kind of where to find a deal, right? And you learn from others where to find a deal, and that knowledge is very useful. And I think the more you kind of know about how to kind of recognize, hey, this price seems like it's inflated, right? Or it might be inflated. The more you do your research, the more you kind of find like, okay, I'm paying a reasonable price for it, or that's outrageous and I got to find another way to get that item.
Definitely. Now, if someone is planning a big home purchase this month, like what's the one thing they should do differently after hearing this?
I do think you want to like map it out a little bit. There's going to be items that you need to get, right? So those ones that you absolutely have to get, I would look at what's available now, and you can shop online for the best price and get those items, right? We're not telling you kind of hold off. But I think you do want to look at those items then that could, can you wait 6 months? Can you wait, 9 months? Can you wait till, Black Friday to see whether you're going to get a great deal on those items? And then I would do, the tips that we just kind of shared here, right? Can you get refurbished, right? Can you get items that are, that other people are sort of giving away, right? You use the Facebook to kind of find, items that people are kind of giving away and try and get stuff that way. So again, bringing all of those muscles that you have as consumers, to the fore and doing your research.
Looking at our Sweet 16, diapers aside, or is there any one category where being patient could really pay off for you? Is there a sort of big payoff in one product category or item that you foresee or the numbers have shown us works?
I do. I think that, I know electronics a little better than other stuff because that's the area that that I work in from day to day. There are electronic items that always sort of go on sale for, Amazon Prime Day in the middle of the summer for Black Friday. For items like TVs, Black Friday is the best time to kind of buy them. But February, as we go into the Super Bowl is another sort of great time when you see those things drop. I mean, we have information on the Consumer Reports website on when things are, on sale, what products to buy each month. That's very helpful information, I think, for people to use. If it's items that are like back to school items, right? So it's laptops and phones and printers, those things go on sale the end of the summer, right? Around Labor Day weekend. Time you know about mattresses, right? That's always good around the President's Day sale. So
Yeah.
I think if you can look, if you look at those items and find out when they tend to kind of dip and then kind of be prepared to buy them at that time. If you find them in advance on sale, sometimes you'll get a surprise sale, then don't be, afraid to kind of pounce on stuff then.
Yeah, and Chris, you mentioned this on cr.org. We do have a great resource where we tell people what typically goes on sale during the month. So people should definitely check that out. And then to your point, like Amazon Prime Day, that's over the summer, but then there's also one in October. And then there tends to be the Black Friday sale where everyone is participating, right? Because it's not just Amazon during the summer or in that October time period. A lot of times other places like Best Buy, Walmart, Target, everyone kind of takes part because they know that Amazon is dropping their prices. So It's a good time to look at it. Even if you're not buying on Amazon, there are other stores that might have things on sale simply because Amazon is having their sale.
Yeah, and one other tip I might point out, this came up in the price tracker last year. Amazon and Walmart, those are big like marketplaces. It's not just Amazon and Walmart that are selling there. So when things go into limited supply, you'll often find like third-party retailers that are selling them. And I saw that's when a lot of the prices spike. So it's always good to look when you kind of see that item and see the price. I would look to see who's selling that item. Is it actually Walmart that's selling it, or is it a third-party place that's marketing it? Because you'll see those jumps. That Nintendo Switch that I talked about last year, right before Amazon Prime Day, I actually saw that like little arbitrage kind of market sort of spring up. So there were people that had models that were in very limited supply, and they went up by, $100, $150 in one stretch. So it pays to kind of look to see who's selling it to you as well. And if it's all third-party marketers, you might kind of want to do a little research and say, is this product off the market or is it sort of coming back? And I would wait until it comes back and Amazon is selling it directly or Walmart is selling it directly.
Good old supply and demand, baby. Supply and demand. Especially when those third-party folks get in there and they're on the page and it looks like, oh, I'm just ordering this from Walmart.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, be conscious, who and where.
Yes, Walmart and Amazon, because they will get you. You definitely have to be careful with that. You think you're ordering from Walmart and then it's like, wait a minute. That was a third party. No wonder it's 3 times the price.
I think one of the other things that we saw that was interesting last year was items where you actually had to, with the washing machine at one point, I would have to put the item into my cart before I could get the price from like Home Depot. And there was part of me that was saying like, hey, wait, is this them kind of playing games with me? And we actually looked into that, and it's not. What that is about is that the manufacturer's suggested retail price, you're not allowed to advertise below that price. You can sell below that price, but you can't advertise below that price. Otherwise, the retailer will cut you off. And so what was happening there was Home Depot was actually offering that washing machine at a better price than the LG, the manufacturer, would allow. And so instead of putting it on the page, right, the model page where you would actually see it would be advertised, they actually asked you to kind of put it into the cart and you could save an extra $50 or so there. So
genius.
I thought that was interesting.
I wondered about that C price in cart. I'm like, why don't you just put it on the page?
Yeah.
But I never knew that's why they were doing it.
Yeah, like what is the charade? I got to go through all this theater. Just tell me how much the price is. But now that I'm armed with this knowledge, I'm like, Price and cart. Show me the
Right.
money.
There you go.
Right,
That's it.
exactly.
I thought, oh,
Let's
you're
go
trying to
the
get me to
cart.
push the buy button, right? And buy it before I'm ready to, you know?
Chris, before we get you out of here, we want to do just a very quick lightning round. This is what we are calling deal or no deal, okay? So we're going to ask you a couple scenarios, and then you need to let us know if we should buy now, wait, or it depends. Are you game?
Yep, I'm all for it.
Okay, so the first one. You're looking at a vacuum that's been bouncing around in price for months. It dropped from $199 to $119. Deal or no deal?
Well, if it's $199, I'm saying no deal. Don't buy that. But I do think if you kind of see that pattern and you see what the low is, you know, you might have to wait 6 weeks or so to see where it bounces. But when it hits the low, pounce on it. Then I think it's fair to do that.
All right. So we just talked about that sweet, sweet LG deal that you got at Home Depot by adding it to the cart. So I'm looking at a washing machine. The price has gone up about $100 over the past few months, and I know I'm going to need one soon. The kids are coming back from school. They're bringing all their laundry. Should I buy it now or should I wait?
I think that one's a little bit harder to kind of say deal. If it's in the cart, they tell you got to go into the cart and buy it. You know, for that price, I say pounce on it right then and there. If it's gone up for the $100, I do think you probably buy it at that price, just because, like you said, I don't want to be washing my clothes in the bathtub on my own. So I think you have to kind of just grin and bear it in that instance and pay the extra $100, bring it home, and save yourself the time of trying to hand wash it in the bathroom sink or the bathtub.
Right, we don't want that. A TV is marked down 30% off during a big holiday sale. Feels like a deal, but is it the deal?
That's a great question there. Because I have seen instances where they make it look like the TV is 30% off when in fact it's not. There are times, especially when I think you're looking at those third-party retailers, I think there's times when the price goes up a few weeks before the sale begins, so they can make it look like they're slashing 30% when maybe they're only giving you 5 or 10% off. So in that case, I think it helps to there are apps that can help you look at the history of the pricing and see whether it's at a low point or not. And I think if you can go and use one of those apps, it would help you to kind of say, is this truly 30% off, or am I only getting a 5% deal?
I like that. Buy with confidence.
Yeah. Thank God for Consumer Reports, because I'm like, it's on sale. Let's go get one. Well, lastly, before we get you out of here, you've been watching the product and the price hasn't changed at all in 3 months. They've just been rocking steady. Is that a good sign or a bad sign?
I think that's a good sign based on what I saw through Price Tracker. I didn't often see something that held steady for 3 months and then dipped down, 20% off for a week or two and then, back up again. Unless it was an item that was it was during a sale period. Mm-hmm. So I do think if you see it there for 3 months, that pretty much is the price that item is going for right now. And as long as you're not, as long as there's not a new model coming out, in a week or two, that's another thing you can kind of pay attention to, right? So, the new iPhone is introduced in September, right? The new Samsung phones are introduced in February. And if that's going to happen and the price has been steady for 3 months, but you're about to hit a new model being introduced, I would wait a couple of weeks and get that deal, right? The price is going to come down. But barring that, 3 months steady, then I would kind of go with that price.
Good to know.
Chris, you have been a wealth of knowledge. We are very excited to tap into these products. Brian, you coined them the Sweet 16. I love that because, again, there might not be a product there that you buy, but it can help you understand the shifts. And that's what we're talking about today, timing and getting that right. So, Chris, thank you again.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Brian. It's been a pleasure talking with both of you.
So, Brian, Chris gave us a lot. I know I learned quite a bit, particularly how the pricing cart system works. I just never understood why they did that. But now that he's explained it, it makes a lot more sense. What did you take from today's episode?
Definitely gonna plus one that because I know I've even skipped things where it's like add to the cart to see the price. Just tell me the price. But now I will double back
Just tell
and
me the
make sure that
price.
I do move it. But one thing is even like I'm not a coffee guy. I've never drank coffee, but looking at the price and seeing that is one of
Yeah.
the 16 does help me have an indication of what is going on more broadly. And again, like I'm not looking for diapers, I'm not looking for coffee or an F-150, but it really does help to have
Right.
a baseline. It's like when you're buying a house and they're like, what are the comps in the area? Like having an idea of where the market is
Absolutely.
and what the comps are just makes me feel better informed to get in there and get a better deal for myself.
Yes, I know. I love that. So I think the biggest thing here is just realizing that a lot of what feels random when you're shopping actually isn't. Prices are moving for specific reasons, whether it's inventory, new product releases, or even things like tariffs. And you're seeing the effects of that in real time.
Yeah, and sometimes those shifts are bigger than you could even expect. And it's not just a few dollars here and there. There are real like price swings happening.
Huge thanks to Chris Raymond for walking us through all of this. If you want to dig into the data and see how some of these prices have actually moved over time, we'll link to the tracker in the show notes.
And CR is also full of other great resources that will keep you on track with your savings and your shopping.
That's right. So before you buy something, especially a bigger purchase, just take a second and ask, do I understand this price or am I just reacting to it?
Let's not be reacting. Let's be smart.
Well, that's our show. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Talking Cards.